Hello, everyone. My name is Raquel, and I am currently pursuing my master's degree in early childhood education. And I am here to create this video on helpful tips for the teacher as well as the parent to be able to communicate to children in the preschool years and to build upon their emotional and social development. I will begin my review with my project or my review with a quote by Maria Montessori, which said, "The greatest sign of success for a teacher is to be able to say, 'The children are now working as if I do not exist.'" And I love that quote because it just states that it's important for us as educators to build the autonomy of a child. And in building their autonomy, we not only establish self confidence for them in their early childhood years, but hopefully they'll be able to carry that into adulthood, which is our goal. The reason I chose to do this project is because it prevents methods of action on how to connect and implement strategies for children in terms of emotional development, whether they have faced trauma or not. Through my coursework at my university, I've learned and implemented strategies to effectively teach children across each and every developmental domain, whether it's cognitive, emotional, social, or physical. The audience would be you as educators. Hopefully you will tune in, and hopefully this will give you some strategies. I believe that in terms of what I believe and also what I've learned from my coursework, in order to really understand a child, and I'm sorry, in order to truly develop a child's emotional development, we must first understand the child. We must know his past experiences, whether positive or negative, and I think we do this by really establishing a healthy relationship with their parents or caregivers to really be able to talk through what the child has experienced in the past, what he's currently experiencing, what does home life look like. One thing I love to ask is, what does home Billy versus school Billy look like? And just understanding where that connection is, and understanding new events in the child's life, whether it's a new baby, a foster home, or a parent maybe passed away, just possible traumatic experiences that could affect the child in the classroom and could possibly establish negative behaviors in the classroom, or even positive. And it's just important to understand that. It's important to understand the child, as I shared before. The physical, mental, emotional needs of the child should be evaluated and respected, and not only this, but valued as well. And also, if needed, it's important to make sure that the child is evaluated if need be, and that as an educator, we are working with social workers or occupational physical therapists, welfare system, whatever is needed in order to truly allow the child the team that they need to succeed and to be able to develop in a healthy way across all developmental domains. So one thing that's very important is that during these early years, a child should develop a healthy attachment to at least one adult. Which can be very difficult when you think about a child maybe bouncing from home to home in terms of foster care, or a child that may have experienced trauma maybe with the adult that was closest to them. So I think it's important as educators to really establish a structure for this child, routine, and to really build confidence, really understand that this child is important, that their voice matters, that their values matter, understand their likes and their dislikes in the classroom to be able to better communicate. Another way to really communicate and establish the emotional development of a child is to make eye contact, to look at the child when we're speaking to them, and to truly ask questions, and allow the child to ask questions, just as Jean Piaget mentioned in his theory of development for the child. Every child is a scientist. Every child is trying to discover their world, ask questions, and seek answers. And as educators, we should work as facilitators to really allow a child to do so. Furthermore, I'm going to quickly touch base on different questions you could ask a child in order to really develop and establish their emotional development. Questions like, "John, how are you feeling right now?" Is a question that, of course, we can ask, whether the child is currently maybe exhibiting a very traumatic experience with a fellow peer. Maybe the child is experiencing negative behavior of aggression or anger, or just sadness, or even in a positive light, if the child is happy or is doing very well in the classroom. Either way, it's important as an educator to really ask these questions to allow the child time to answer. It's very important. Moreover, it's not only important to listen to the child and hear the child, but also acknowledge the child and his feelings and emotions in that moment and to validate them. For example, John, I can see, John or Sally, I can see that you're very upset. I noticed that your toy did break. How about we possibly work on a method or a strategy to be able to fix the toy? Or maybe there's other toys that you can play with in the classroom. How can we help? Or if someone, is hurt, maybe going, one thing I love to tell my students is if they hurt a child, I feel like, especially in the early years, not saying that sorry shouldn't be said. However, I'm not too much of an advocate for sorry. I believe in terms of communication and establishing emotional development and empathy among peers. It's important for a child to truly go up to the child that they may have hurt, make eye contact and ask, how can I help? How can I help you feel better? Do you need an ice pack? What's going on? So just really allowing that child to not only say sorry, but to understand that if they were the cause of perhaps the difficulty in the emotions, to really just provide a way out and provide a way of really standing with the child that's hurt and establishing a pattern of empathy among peers, even at this young age, that they can hopefully carry into adulthood, which is, of course, our goal as educators, right? Another thing that's important to do is to really encourage the child, positive reinforcement. If a child does something right, going up to him. I love the way you were able to clean up so effectively, the way you, helped your friend. You're such a great helper. Or thank you for setting that up. Or just really making sure that no positive deed goes unnoticed. As an educator, that builds self-confidence and it builds autonomy in a child, which is something that, of course, we strive to do as educators. And then some do's and don'ts: talking down to a child, yelling, getting angry, losing your temper, not being patient. Those are all ways that can stifle the emotional development of a child. That's the last thing we want to do as educators. If you're feeling frustrated, I encourage you to step aside, take a deep breath, and then come back to the child. Hopefully there's more than one teacher in the classroom. Hopefully there's at least two. Of course, if you are alone as a teacher, it's a little bit difficult to do this. One thing I have done, though, when I have been alone in situations with my class, is that I just, in the moment, take a deep breath. As I'm talking to the student, take a deep breath and continue my conversation. My voice is not raised, and I'm able to really, hopefully, get through to the child, right? Another thought I would like to touch on, if you bear with me one moment, please. Okay. Another topic I'd like to touch on that I've learned a lot in my coursework is that not only is it important to be able to communicate verbally and non-verbally, of course, because about 90% of what you say is nonverbal, so it's important to pay attention to your tone, to your body language. When you're communicating with a child, children can truly read through different things and scenarios, so it's important to really establish those and making sure that that's positive across the board as an educator. Another thing I would like to touch on is early childhood literacy and building social and emotional development. In the classroom, we read books that carry themes associated with social and emotional development. Literacy is a powerful tool, equipping children to relate, understand, and develop their communication skills. Moreover, as we implement these skills in the classroom, we hope that they are being implemented at home as well. So one thing I love to do is send my students home with some books, maybe a little packet that they can take home and bring back of different books that promote social development. I'm not going to mention the books here in this video right now due to copyright reasons. However, please feel free to message me if you would like to know what those books are that I do use in the classroom. I'll make sure that I have permission to share those. But I do have a list of books that will be very inclusive to the classroom and really be able to develop social and emotional skills across the board for all children, regardless of whether they've experienced trauma or not. These are very effective, and I found very effective in my classroom. It improves communication with children, not only with the adult, but among peers, and really helps a child communicate how they're feeling and their emotions, even from the quietest child to maybe the most outgoing and outspoken child. Across the board, it's really helpful. I've also found that transitional songs are very helpful. There's one song I love to sing with my students. I'll sing it for you now, and hopefully you can implement it in your classroom. I'm going to use two children as an example. Just make up names. I'm going to say Sally and Johnny. So it would start like this: Hello, Sally. Hello, Sally. Hello, and how are you? So hopefully Sally will respond with an emotion, whether it's sad, angry, upset. Sometimes my students say, I feel like a robot today. So just kind of anything goes. Of course, I do establish what feelings are. But in this song, just whatever goes, however they're feeling, I just want to make sure that each child is voicing their emotions, whether it's playful or serious. So, for example, maybe Sally would say, I feel sad, right? She's sad, she's sad, and maybe you are too. Hello, Johnny, hello, Johnny, hello, and how are you? Maybe Johnny says, I feel excited. So then as the teacher and the students, then we sing back to Johnny, he's excited, and I hope that you are too. So if it's a negative emotion, we would accompany it with, and maybe you are too. If it's a positive emotion, we would accompany it with, and I hope that you are too, just to distinguish the two, right? So if a child is experiencing a negative emotion, chances are maybe other children can relate to it. If they're experiencing a positive emotion, right, we want that. So hopefully everyone is experiencing positivity and positive emotions in the classroom. However, if they are experiencing negative emotions, it's important and crucial that they do voice that. So hopefully they can receive the help that they need, whether from me as their teacher, from parents, or from therapists across the board, whatever is needed, whether it's an IEP, maybe for a child with special needs or a disability. So it's just important to hear a child out and to understand from their point of view how they're feeling, right? And then I would say the last topic I would touch on quickly is how these strategies can be implemented at home. One thing that I usually get from parents is, how do I talk to my child at home, right? That's something that is said excuse me, that's something that it's said on a regular basis. And honestly, I'm glad that that question comes up. One thing I always love to share with parents is that it can be difficult, to reason with their preschooler. Children are really, they're establishing, their moral development, right? They're establishing their communication skills, and you can often hear, especially in the 2 to 3 year old range, no, 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 right? More than maybe you hear yes. However, as adults, we are to model, the type of behavior that we want to see in our children, right, in our students or children at home if you're a parent. As adults, we guide them in relating to others. They building empathy, right, which I touched on earlier, confidence and self-control. When your preschooler is becoming very upset, what do, right? We all get frustrated, and it's important to address that with your preschooler, that you also get frustrated so they understand that you can relate to them. Develop coping mechanisms. And your preschooler is beginning to develop coping strategies, right? And so here's some helpful tips on how you can help them. Number one, I think I stated it earlier, please be patient and understanding. If you need to step away, or take a deep breath in the moment, but please do not yell at your preschooler. It's not going to send the right message that you really want the behavior to improve or even to stop as a whole, right? And to just validate them, right? And validate their emotions. Ask questions, what are you feeling right now? I touched on earlier. Acknowledge and encourage, right? Acknowledge the child and encourage them to do the right thing. And remember, lastly, I want to leave you with this thought. We are instilling confidence in our children, right? Confidence and autonomy. We want them to carry this on into the future. So that is all I have for you for today. I hope to make more videos like this, especially now with my expertise in my master's degree, and I hope to continue to be a better educator. And I look forward to doing this again soon. All the best. Thank you so much. All the best in your school year and at home with your children if you are either an educator or a parent. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for your time.